Hey guys, I'm John. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal finance, investing, credit cards, everything in that world. Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 secured credit cards. Now, secured credit cards are credit cards that require a refundable deposit upfront, and these are designed for people with bad or no credit. These cards are not going to be ones that offer really great rewards like a lot of the other credit cards I'm going to be focusing on this channel. But let's say you have that bad credit or you have no credit, and in the next 6 months here, you want to be in a place where you can start getting these better credit cards where you can redeem for free travel, or maybe it's as simple as I need good credit for a couple years down the line for when I'm getting a home and I need a good loan that has a good interest rate on it, or I just want to be able to qualify for a home loan. So we're going to be looking at my top 5. I'm going to go through them. They're all pretty simple cards, but they do have a few key differences that I'm going to explain for you, and that way you can have a really good idea of maybe how you'd like to approach this and figure out which one is good for you. Now also, before we jump into this list, hit subscribe, ring the bell, that way you know when I have a video coming up again, and don't forget to like this video. Alright, let's jump into my top 5. Now, going into my top 5, there are 2 things that all 5 of these credit cards will have in common, which were very important to me. Number 1, no annual fee. Okay, with these credit cards, secured cards, there are some companies that will mitigate their risk by having an annual fee, or some may say they're taking advantage by having an annual fee. When people have bad credit, they don't have a lot of options for which of these cards they can get. And so some companies require an annual fee, these do not. The second thing is that they report your payments and that all that encompassed information to the 3 credit bureaus. And that's obviously essential because we need to start having responsible use that will, if you choose to get one of these cards, that will build up positive things on your credit history and help your credit score, etc. Okay, getting into my top 5. Number 5 on the list is the CITI secured MASTERCARD. I don't know why I enunciated that so much. But anyways, this card is a little funny because I read on more than one occasion it is actually better to have no credit history than bad credit history when applying for this card. If you have derogatory marks on your credit report, like collections or bankruptcies, that's going to make it more difficult for you. And actually, specifically, they say no bankruptcies in the last 2 years. So keep that in mind. But generally, the range of credit scores to have the best chance of getting this card is going to be in the 600s. So you're actually going to want to be like in earshot of an okay credit score just to get this card. The deposit required for this is kind of up to you, but it's going to be in the range of $200 to $2,500. And then the biggest thing that I noticed with this card is the time it takes to upgrade it or get it graduated to an unsecured card. It's going to be 18 months for this card, which is much longer than the other cards on the list. Finally, the last 2 things that I noted with this card is that there are going to be foreign transaction fees, so I would not recommend using it outside the US. And then finally, there are no real rewards. There's no like cashback or anything from this card. So this one really just like met the minimum requirements to make my top 5. It's number 5 for a reason. It's there if you don't like the other 4. Okay, jumping into number 4, we have one with my favorite name because it looks like a knockoff, the BANKAMERICARD. It looks, there's something weird about that condensed name, but the BANKAMERICARD secured credit card. This is by Bank of America, of course. Credit score needed is also going to be in the 600s. So it is possible to get this with a credit score in the 500s. But once again, this credit card is not going to be super open to people with really bad credit. With that in mind, the deposit is going to be $300 to $4,900. The one thing that's interesting about this compared to the others on the list, that $4,900 deposit, that is going to be the highest credit limit that you can get from these 5 cards. And why that is important is because when you are building your credit score, one of the great factors can be your available credit limit. So it's it's a little two-sided thing, because I don't think that anyone who has bad credit or is building their credit is going to want to throw down $4,900 and put that on hold for a year, just for the sake of their credit score. That doesn't add up to me, but it is a possibility. So if you want to try and do that and really boost your credit score, that might help you. That's like the one bright side to this card I'm trying to, show off for it. Just to give it a chance on my list. Moving on though, the upgrade time or the graduation time can be 6 months to a year, which is kind of a standard time for secured credit cards. There are foreign transaction fees and there are no rewards. So it's a little bit better, but still not super great. Let's jump up and start getting to some of the better ones. All right, so number 3 on my list is the Capital One Secured MasterCard. This credit card is actually available starting with people in the 500s credit range, based on what I've read. Again, that's a general idea, but people with lower scores are able to get some success applying for this card and get approved. What's interesting about the whole deposit credit line is your credit line starts at about $200, and when they run your credit report and check your credit score, based on your credit worthiness, as they call it, you may have to put down the full $200 deposit. You may also only have to put down $49, or they might put it in the middle-ish and do $99 as a deposit. So you can actually get this card without putting up the full amount, which is kind of nice. And starting at 5 months, if you have been responsible and been making your payments on time and all that stuff, they can actually do a review of your account and increase your credit line to $1,000. So this is a nice way to get your credit going without having to throw down a bunch of money and have it put on hold for an indefinite amount of time. The graduation time for this card is anywhere from 8 months to 2 years, so there's quite a range based on what I read online, but generally it seems about that year-ish, which is kind of an average across all these cards. That's what you're looking at. No foreign transaction fees, which is the first time we're seeing that in a credit card, which is great. So if you are an international traveler, this can fit right into your spending. And then there are no rewards, no points back, no cash back. All right, number 2 on the list is the Navy Federal and Rewards Secured Credit Card from Navy Federal Credit Union. Now, if you don't know, to get products and services from this credit union, you need to be or be related to someone who is active military or a veteran for the U.S. military, okay? So not anyone can just show up and apply for this credit card. But taking a look at it, just in case you are someone who qualifies, because it is an interesting card, you can have a credit score in the 500s to have a fighting chance at getting this card. They are open to people with bad credit. The opening deposit is going to be $200. The ceiling of that, I actually don't know. I couldn't find that information, so maybe it does go higher than the BANKAMERICARD. But I don't think that's a huge selling point. The other things are pretty good on this card. 6 months to a year is what it's going to take to upgrade or graduate this card, so that's pretty great. No foreign transaction fees, that's a positive as well. And now what's cool is we're starting to see a card that actually has points and rewards, okay? So you are going to get 1 point per dollar on all spending with this card. And the points program is the N Rewards points program. The one thing to keep in mind is that the points do expire after 4 years. But based on what I read, that shouldn't be a huge issue, because as you get your points, you can just cash them out into your savings account or whatever is linked to your credit card through Navy Federal Credit Union. So that's pretty cool. You get 1x back on everything, 1% back for a card for someone who has bad credit. That's great. Number 1 on my list. This is pretty cool. This is a good card. This is going to be the Discover It Secured card. So Discover has some of the best no annual fee cards. They're what I view as a very simple credit card company, and what they do very well. This card does need a credit score that's in the 600s. People are able to get it with less. There are people online who have reported getting this card with a score in the 500s. So if you have a bad credit score, I would encourage you to start with this one. Go for this one, and you'll see why. The deposit is pretty standard, $200 at the low end, or you can go up to $2,500 if you want. The upgrade time or graduation time to go from secured to unsecured is going to be about 8 months. After that time, they'll regularly start checking your progress and seeing if you're ready to move on to one of their regular credit cards. There are no foreign transaction fees, which is also great. And then finally, the rewards on this card are actually really good. It's going to give you 2% back at gas stations and restaurants, okay? That's a reward that is like a regular rewards credit card. And they're going to give you 1% cash back on everything else. So this is by far the best rewards we've seen, mostly because the other cards don't have real rewards. But on top of all that, if you are a brand new customer to Discover, they are going to do a cash back match for everything you earn in your first year. So if you're a new member, effectively what that does is your 2% on gas stations and restaurants becomes 4% back, which is huge. And your 1% back on everything else becomes 2%, which is pretty huge. And remember, this is for a secured credit card. So if you're looking over the top 5, if you have really bad credit, I would say, Navy Federal has a strong case. If you have bad credit and you're not in the military, Capital One makes a strong case. But in terms of rewards, I would say go for Discover first. That would be the first place I would look. If I didn't get it, then I would look down the list. But by far and away, that got the #1 spot. All right, guys, that's my top 5 secured credit cards. Thanks so much for watching. If you disagree or if you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to comment down below. I'd be really interested to hear your input. Also, hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Ring the bell so you're notified when I have a new video. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much.